Good day, ladies and gents, my name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks Supertest video. And today we have two new heavy tanks rolling into the Supertest, one being the YONG BING and the other one is the FV214t. And yes, one is much more interesting than the other. And because of that, let's just start off straight away with the YONG BING. In short, double-barreled 122mm gun, 440 alpha, rocket booster, good armor. So maybe the DZT really was sold very well, so they had to do another version for the Christmas loot boxes. Jokes aside, we obviously don't know yet what is happening with the tank, but in the papers it does look fairly interesting and maybe a little bit too strong. However, there are also some things which are subject to change, because obviously it's Supertest, so keep that in mind that everything can be changed and some information are also missing. We'll get to that in just a bit. Now, it has 440 alpha, meaning with its double bonk stick it can get up to 880 alpha. And I've decided to compare it to the BZ86 because hey, rocket tanku, contender with a double gun, and the IS-32, my beloved, with a double barrel gun as well. But however, the contender and the IS-32 both only deal 780 damage. So we have already 100 damage more, and you're online with the ST2 on tier 10, which is kinda interesting if you imagine that now we have this type of alpha on tier 9, even though we already have two separate lines having the same gimmick, not having that much alpha. A little bit iffy with that regard. In any case, the penetration is fairly standard for a heavy tank, 245, 300 alpha on 300 premium pen is okay, I guess. But yeah, the big problem is I only get the information of 25 seconds reload time, meaning that usually with these guns, it means that one gun takes 12.5 seconds to reload, but we don't know how long is the block time after donk donk. How long is the cyclic time? That's still subject to change. I don't have any information on that yet. If I get some more, in the description down below. It also has meh accuracy, 0.4. Yes, it is not as bad as the BZ86, but I don't know, Chief. Looks a little bit meh, if I have to be honest. And obviously the contender is really nice with 0.34, but it has the other weird gimmick there, let's be honest. 0.4 can work. 2.7 seconds aim time though, that's actually pretty decent, because look, the IS-32 is worse there. So is the BZ68. We obviously don't know how good the soft stats are, because these are the ones which make or break a tank usually. But I believe it will be fine. It also has 8 degrees of gun depression, which I feel like lately is wargaming's go-to standard to give a tank comfortable gun handling. Gun depression, not gun handling. But it makes it interesting and okay to play as a player and not make it completely unfair to play against when you have like a really good hull-down vehicle. And I feel like that's a decent balance. On the other hand, it also makes it a little bit boring because it feels like everything now has 8 degrees of gun depression. At least all the new things. Also, 2100 DPM with these values is pretty okay, but obviously most tanks are a bit better, but the BZ68 has the benefit of having more alpha. Now, mobility, which is another big interesting thing. 33 kph normally, 12 kph in reverse, giving it a decent point of view, you know, 30 kph, 34, 12 in reverse, it's okay. Could be better, could be worse. But then you have the rocket booster, which gives you almost 50 kph in top speed, which is 5 more than the BZ. 1.2 in reverse, which is almost identical. Only a snail or a tortoise would notice these differences. And you will get an HP per ton ratio of 32.4, which is almost identical to the BZ68. However, the standard HP per ton ratio is pretty poor, 11.8. It's the worst of the three, which we have right here. The other gimmick is, it has very short duration rocket boosters. Proper firecrackers, if you ask me. They only last for 4 seconds. But you have 10 of them, giving you a total of 40 seconds of boost time. However, the BZ68 has 10-second duration and 5 boosters. And I have to say, I feel like when it comes to convenience for a player, the shorter but more boosters will be more and better to use than the longer. Because sometimes they're like, uh-oh, I should not have boosted, and then you're just standing there for an additional 5, 6, 7 seconds trying to reverse with 1.2 kph. You know? So the shorter boost duration might actually be better and could be really good also for RAM, because you zoom, then you go back because you're once again fast in reverse, then zoom again, you know? Feels like more convenient for the playstyle. Survivability looks fairly interesting. It does have 1900 hit points, which is slap dab in the middle, which is okay. It has 300 millimeters of turret armor, which is kind of hard to say where it is, because let's be honest, we do have cupolas over here and here, so they should be hittable. It has 200 millimeters of hull armor, but only 60 on the side. That's kind of poor. The 60 on the side at least. It means an 183 can overmatch you with AP. About the hull armor, it is kind of hard to say. We have, it looks like a 60 DP weak spot, and other than that, it looks fairly okay. But again, it's so hard to judge what exactly is the armor going to be. We have to wait for this tank to come to the test server, so we actually have a look at the armor model. Regardless, you might say, oh my god, 300 damage, 300 armor on the turret? Well, this thing has 280, and I don't really hear that many people complain that a BZ-68 is overpowered or broken. Maybe I'm just weird, or I missed the hype for it. It's a good tank, don't get me wrong, and it has a small cupola, but it's not like, I don't know. I feel like it might be overshadowed by the very lackluster tier 10 tank. Maybe that's the problem. It has 380 view range, which is on average the same, and it has two not autoloaders, but reloaders, which is a little bit annoying because look at that. It only has one. Look at that. It only has one. Look at that. It only has one. So you do have to find that one. And I guess for Brume, my friendly friend with his TOC 2 model and his OI obsession, he definitely will be having a crew for that. Let's move over to the FV214t, and we make it a little bit quick because basically stock Conqueror turret for now, again subject to change, and a 114mm gun with 370 alpha. The DPM is almost identical, so it means you basically trade alpha for consistency. Even though the accuracy is actually a tad worse on the on this new tank compared to the normal Conqueror, but the aim time is slightly better, so I guess it's okay. And you might already see, but Raging, you have Rambo and 103 there. Why? Well, I believe that the FV214t could be another one of these collabs, because let's be honest, I think the Rambo is a pretty darn fun tank to play. Yes, it could have been better before they nurtured its gun handling. Oh my god, it's my poor boy. It could have been so much more convenient to play. And that's the thing though. I do believe that if Wargaming says to themselves, you know what, let's take, in quotation mark, a stock tank and give it some boost in armor or in strength in the gun and try to sell them that way. Maybe in a collab again or some way around. I think that's not a bad idea. Hey, that's the whole, in quotation mark, gimmicks of the Joe tank line, you know, with the track mechanic. That it has two different guns, one with big damage and one with small damage. And I think that is a pretty good idea of monetizing premiums, because you already know that, hey, the platform behaves like this. So let's just give it another gun and see how the platform behaves yet again. And the one cool thing about this is, look at that HE, 114mm and 480 alpha. Whoo boy, that's a pretty darn good HE. Pen and alpha damage. So that will be quite nice to see the skill expression with this thing. Mobility wise, it's actually pretty faster, a pretty bit faster than the Conqueror, like 2.7 kph and 3 in reverse, and it has better HP per ton ratio, which makes it fairly nice to play. I assume that's because it doesn't have the turret side skirts like the normal Conqueror. And it has 1900 hit points, and that's it, 400 view range. It's copy paste like the normal Conqueror. There's not much else to say. Again, you might say, but Raging, isn't it like the Conqueror stock turret and the stock gun? Yeah, it kinda is, but again, might be subject to change, because as far as I know, this is not a 114mm gun. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sorry, British people, I do not know what 32 pounder actually means. But yeah, you can see if we now put in the big turret, you can see that it has these additional heat screens on the turret, but nothing really changes. So while yes, the armor will be a little bit worse, I don't think it will make a big difference. So these are the 2 new tanks, and as already said, the Young Bing probably might be just the next evolution of the DZT for Christmas boxes. It looks very strong so far. Not that happy if you remember the XM situation. But the FV214t, I actually like that. I genuinely do like this idea. And if this is the idea Wargaming is going for. And we'll see how it goes. Let's be honest. And with that, let me know in the comment section below what you think. And because you stayed for this whole rambling session, I have, for the quickest 2 people, a little bonus code here. Yes, these only work once. So, first come, first serve. The ones which are the fastest, they yoink them. But fret not, I still have these amount of bonus codes to give away, which have the same thing right here. So don't forget, I will have you some more, but probably I will give them away either on stream. So don't forget to follow there if I stream again, if I feel a little bit better, and on the Discord. So feel free to join the Discord on the link down below. So lastly, do you have any feedback? If not, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. My name is RagingRaptor, and have a wonderful day. Cheers.